Punch it. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're going to be going over a 2022 Infiniti QX80. Before we get into the video, I do want to mention that I did release my car buying guide, so if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to that in the description down below. Let's get right into the review. So under the hood, we have a naturally aspirated 5.6 liter V8 that goes through a 7-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 13 around town and then 19 on the highway. I will show you guys what I've been averaging a little bit later in the video. Power outputs are 400 horsepower and then 413 pound-feet of torque, with the towing capacity of this being 8,500 pounds. Now this particular QX80 is pretty loaded up because it is in the Sensory package, but let's go over the front end of it first off. So you can see here from a design standpoint, the hood kind of has this like rounded off appearance to it. It's like more flat in the center. You do have a slight kind of like line. It's kind of hard to see. It's not really like a true like line like you see here on the side, but it kind of like slightly pops up here in the middle, just a little bit. But again, more rounded off from an aesthetic perspective. And then coming down below, you can see here with the projector bulb, super bright at night, and the LED accent lights. We've got the LED fog lights down below that. And then notice all of the chrome trim on the front of the grille with the Infiniti logo. I do have a camera there at the bottom of the logo, very nicely integrated. And then more chrome trim down below that. Parking sensors here on the front end. And then you can see we've got the little sensor there down below that. And there's your full view from a front end perspective. Now coming on the side here, we've got two 75mm tires dropped around 22-inch wheels in the front and over in the rear as well. And then you can see here from a design standpoint, they've gone for metallic gray for the coloration, which actually matches pretty well to the metallic gray on this particular QX80. Tons of spokes, and I don't know, I think it works. It definitely has that upscale luxury SUV appearance. It's not too crazy, but again, it just makes sense. Notice we got more chrome trim here on the side, and then chrome trim for the mirrors, the door handles, and then notice here with the side steps how they're kind of like painted on the ends so that it fits more with the bodywork of the QX80. And if I take a few steps back, you can see the full side profile here on the QX80, which I think it looks pretty good. Now here is our key fob. We have a remote start. We've got the lock, the unlock, and then the opening here for the hatch, and then the Infiniti logo there. Nothing happening there on the back end. Same key fob if you have a Nissan. Now you can see here from a storage space perspective in the rear, just like other 3-row SUVs, you've got a little bit of storage space behind the third row, but if you want a ton of storage space, just throw the third row down. But this is more than enough for most groceries I've found, because I've taken this to the shop several times. And then you can see here, more storage space underneath. Notice we've got these controls here, so you can lower down the seats. You can also raise them up as well. You've got one for the left side, one for the right side, so definitely nice functionality. So for example, we'll press this and it'll lower it down, right? You just one touch, so I don't have to hold it down, and then it'll lower it down. I think there's enough room in the seat in front of it for it to go all the way down. I'll make you guys live through this process. Notice it's got a 12 volt over there on the other side, and look at that, now the seat's all the way down, and then when you want it to come back up, same thing, one touch, and then it'll do that for you. We've got the plaques here on either side, which look great. And then when you're all done, just press this, and then that will lower down the rear hatch. Wait for it. Boom. Now let's finish things up with the rear. So you can see here we've got the distinctive LED lights, which I love how these look at night. And then you can see here with the chrome trim and then Infiniti logo, and then up above, got to make sure they let everyone know it's an Infiniti. And then you got your 4-wheel drive, you've got your QX80 badge, and then notice here how they kind of match the trim on the bottom of the bumper. Parking sensors, and then this is just a bezel that covers the receiver hitch, so it has a cleaner look. And you can see the exhaust tip poking out the end, and well, there's the rest of the rear. Now let's go over the door panel here in the rear. I love the coloration of the leather and then the design. So you can see here, they've got like a smoother appearance up here, and then they do like a quilted type design down below and then here, and it's very plush. You can see like pressing in quite a bit of give there, which I love. Automatic windows, and notice even here on the door handle, we've got all the stitching. And then we do have the Bose sound system, which I'm actually a fan of. It's pretty good. Got the Infiniti logo down below. And then here are the seats, which again, I really like the looks of them. Unlike other modern cars, they don't have like crazy aggressive bolsters. So if you're a very large person, you can fit in these seats very comfortably. And again, you guys can see the padding. And look at this. Ah, yes, the sandals have come back, but no socks today, I guess. But popping in, you guys can see legroom, headroom. We do have TVs here in the back for the kids, which is great. Climate controls down below, heated seats here for the second row, and then some charging ports as well. And then this is a fixed tab. I thought that it would open or something, but I was like playing around with it and even underneath. And yeah, there's nothing that like opens up the tab. But we do have the center console, which you can see the trim here on it. Definitely a cool aesthetic. It is some cup holders. And then you have like regular console storage space. It's very big for rear passengers. But that does mean that we only have 2 seats here in the back. And then you can see that you've got 3 there in the very back. Now, as for the third row, you guys are probably wondering how to get back there. Well, we've got to step back out. You've got this little latch right here that you can throw forward, and it just throws the whole seat. It's really cool with functionality. Notice that the floor is raised quite a bit, but if we climb back here, whew, you guys can see again legroom. Then headroom as well. So from a space perspective, you can fit adults back here relatively comfortably. And then notice here with the seat control, if you need to get out of the rear, with great power comes great responsibility, by the way. Got some cup holders right there. And then you can move these headrests up if you are a taller human being so that they're in a comfortable space. Also, it looks like a droid head, doesn't that? Let's head to the front. So here's the door panel at the front. It's identical to what you have in the rear, so I'm glad that they carry this throughout the QX80 to make everything solid from an appearance standpoint. Automatic windows for all 4 windows. The mirrors do power fold in. Here's a quick look at them. Sorry, it's snowing right now. And then you can see here with the memory seat function, more speakers for the Bose sound system. Again, the Infiniti logo. And then here are the front seats with the leather. You can see the quilted design here on the center. Bolsters are a little bit more aggressive than what you have in the rear, but you can still fit very wide people here if you need. And then notice here, we've got the adjustments there on the side of the seat. Pedal layout down below. And then notice power door off or on. You can change that if you want it to kind of like function hydraulically in the rear. And then notice here, hydraulically. That's not even a word. We're going to pretend like it is though. That's to open up the hatch. You got the heated steering wheel, and then this is to turn on or off the safety tech. Steering wheel is power adjustable. Let's pop in. Now here is the steering wheel for the QX80. I love how they have the stitching around the airbag cover. And then you can see this does come with adaptive cruise control. I have used it several times. Really seamless system. It works great. And then we've got, you know, volume controls here, controls for the center stack as well. Turn signal, light stock, windshield wiper stock, all the normal stuff. Also notice the trim here with the steering wheel. So it definitely has a unique feel when you touch it because you've got like the smooth mixed with the leather. And yeah, there you go. Now here's the gauge cluster. We've got a mix of analog gauges on either side with that screen there in the center to give you different bits of vehicle information. So for example, I'll show you like direction, but I want to show you guys fuel economy because that was very important. So this is what I've been averaging, 18.1 miles per gallon. So this has been a mix between around town driving and highway driving. And so just like the Nissan Titan and the Nissan Armada that I had that have the same powertrain as this, well, the Titan has the 9-speed automatic, whereas this has a 7-speed. But regardless, they all have the 5.6-liter V8. I've been able to get better fuel economy than what the EPA rates it at. I don't know how because I'm at 4,500 feet elevation, and our interstates here in Utah, people are driving at an average speed of like 80 to 85 miles an hour. And so, yeah, I don't know. I'm shocked by that. But yeah, there's the rest of the center gauge cluster. There's a bunch of different stuff you can scroll through, and there you go. Now here is the infotainment system. Now this has a bunch of different functions. It does have Apple CarPlay, for example, and Android Auto, as you guys can see. I've been using Bluetooth audio because I'm old school. I also just use the like USB function as well because yeah, old school. But if you guys like Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, they offer that. Now popping it into reverse, you guys notice you got the bird's eye view with the backup camera. We do have trajectory lines that turn with the steering wheel, and overall, easy to use camera system. I've used it at night and works fine. And then also if I press the camera button, notice that pops on with the front camera view. And then also the side camera view. So from a camera perspective, you're covered. Everything is covered. As for the rest of the infotainment system, response time with the screen is great. So you can see when you press the buttons, pretty much happens right away from a response time perspective. So I think it's a great screen. Forgot to mention analog controls just down below. And then we've got our climate controls in this area. So we've got dual zone climate here for the front passengers. There is a rear climate, as you guys saw earlier. Heated, cooled seats here for the front. Something that I really like about the QX80 is it's got the temperature sensitive seats. So like if you start it on and it's cold outside, it'll have the heated seat on, or if it's warm outside, it'll turn on the cooled seat. So it's nice that it does that feature. And something that's very random that I don't usually mention in reviews is this does have the Ion system. You guys can see it says Ion Clean Air right there, and I'm pretty sensitive to this stuff. I don't know why, I just was born that way, I suppose, but the smell that you get through the vents with this is very good. Like the air just smells really nice and clean, and so it's not just a little label there on a digital screen. It actually works. You've got this tab that covers this little area for the wireless phone charger, and then kind of like the charging area down below with the USBs and the 12 volt and all that kind of stuff. I like the fact that you can just like click that down, so like you can throw your phone in there. You don't have to worry about your phone flying all over the place. We've got the shifter for that 7-speed automatic transmission. Again, it does have the manual shift function. And then notice all of the stitching and padding all over. It's pretty much everywhere. Like all the trim pieces here, definitely nice from an aesthetic perspective. Got a couple of cup holders. We've got our drive line select here, so you've got your auto and then 4-wheel high. There's a tow mode, there's a snow mode, and then stability control off. And then if you don't want to use the touchscreen, you've got this pad that you can control the infotainment system with. Really easy to use. So they've doubled down with the controls, which I really appreciate. And then you can see here at the center console, again, look how padded this is. Definitely solid. Storage space, great as well. And then popping over here to the glove box, you can see storage space again. And then you got the dash right here, and look at how the wood trim connects there on the door panel. I think that's a cool look. And then they did stitching here on the dash just to make it so that the interior looks more premium. This has my favorite feature in the car industry, the camera mirror system, which in a big third-row SUV like this makes a huge difference, so you don't have to worry about having to see past kids and, you know, groceries and all that kind of stuff. And then you can see here with the sunroof, just a regular sized sunroof. And then we've got the sunglass holder here at the top, and then black headliner, nothing too crazy happening. Here's our window sticker for the QX80. So here's the standard equipment, so feel free to freeze the frame. I love how they don't list the transmission here on the window sticker, because, you know, everyone knows the new 9-speed's better than the 7-speed, but, you know, it's okay. Anyways, you can see here with the options on this particular one. So the Sensory comes pretty loaded up as standard. There's a few options you can add though. But anyways, notice total price there, $87,985. And with that being said, let's take it out and drive it. Talk about visibility before we set off. There's your visibility over the hood, both of the mirrors, throughout the rest of the rear, and let's set off. So we are setting off here in the QX80, and I've picked this particular route because we got to go over some train tracks. So with every single one of these press cars, we'll be able to test out the suspension right off the bat to see if it can handle stuff. And this has that fancy hydraulic suspension, so apparently it's supposed to, well, it is smooth. Let's see exactly what it's called. Don't worry, kids. Safety first, still looking forward. So hydraulic body motion control system is what Infiniti calls it. But what I can tell you basically in normal people terms, it's a big, smooth, floaty SUV. That's kind of what this drives like. There's quite a bit of body roll when you go around the corners and all that, and that's not a bad thing in my opinion. I think that too many car journalists, like when they talk about vehicles, they go, oh, it's got body roll, it's so bad. It's like, no, that's okay, because a lot of times when a vehicle has a lot of body roll, not all the time, but a lot of times, that means that it's usually smoother from a suspension standpoint. So like when you go over bumps, it doesn't just like hit and punch and, you know, make the vehicle shake all over the place. It just kind of floats over, like you saw with the train tracks. Stayed nice and planted and just kind of floated right over the train tracks. So I think it's a good thing, right? Seat comfort is great with this. Again, the bolsters are super wide, so like I'm not a very large person. I'm kind of like taller and more slender in terms of my build, and so like I have so much space in these seats. It's kind of ridiculous. And also we're gonna wait a second, wait another second. Okay, we're gonna punch it. Love the sound of the 5.6 liter V8. But yeah, anyways, when I was talking about the seats, I kind of feel like I'm on a couch, like one of those like not the old leather couches that you sink into, because these seats are actually firm enough that they're supportive, but like, you know, kind of one of those old leather couches that are just like so big that you just kind of pop into it. But again, these, like I said, these seats are firmer, so you don't like sink into them awkwardly where it's uncomfortable for your back. I drive like 30,000 miles a year, and so like I'm kind of like a seat connoisseur at this point, basically. Other things about the QX80 that you guys might need to know. Four-wheel drive system's great. Most of these QX80s are actually sold in the Texas market, I believe, which shout out to my Texas fans. I think that's one of the largest subscriber states that I have in the US is actually Texas. And Utah that I live in, there's quite a bit of subscribers, but Texas is one of the biggest. And yeah, so this is a very popular vehicle down there. Don't really need four-wheel drive in Texas unless it snows, and then everything goes to, well, yeah. But anyways, great four-wheel drive system. I haven't had to use I haven't had to switch it over into the four-wheel high at all. I've just kept it in auto the whole time, and it's done fantastic. And then in terms of the safety tech, I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier. I honestly turn off all the systems most of the time unless I'm on the interstate. And that's just because the town that I live in has the worst roads ever, where like, you guys haven't seen this, but like a lot of the roads will have like old lines that haven't been like erased off the road, if that makes sense. And so the safety system goes haywire because it thinks I'm not in the lane when I am, because the lanes aren't painted properly. But on the highway, functions great. Like I said, adaptive cruise control is great. And so yeah, that's all a big plus. Heated cooled seats, like I said, nice luxury features like that. And we're gonna use the roundabout test, right? We gotta, and actually I'm gonna call it early on this one because this other road down here is not worth going down for a car review. Yeah, Float, you gotta go kind of slower around these things. One thing I've noticed is when you like punch it all the way down, this doesn't really downshift into like the lowest possible gear. It just kind of goes, and you guys can see, whoop, great from a suspension standpoint. Yeah, it doesn't downshift in the lowest possible gear. It just kind of like, okay, so right now I'm at like 1500 RPMs, okay? Punch it, downshifts, oh, now it does it. If you're going like fast enough, I've just noticed that like it'll just take whatever gear it's in and it'll just rev all the way up to redline instead of like downshifting a bunch. See if I can, no. Okay, you know what? I can't show this. I guess I can't show it. But sometimes it does that, I've noticed, with the powertrain. And that's kind of like the benefit of the 9-speed over the 7-speed that Infiniti and Nissan are using, is the 9-speed is just like, it's always into the like right gear, whereas the 7-speed sometimes it does a little bit of that quote-unquote gear searching, I suppose. And so I guess that is a little bit of a downside. But let's sum things up here with the QX80 and, you know, me daily driving this. And if you guys don't know, like, I put a ton of miles on these press cars. Like I have a 500 mile allocation per press car, and I use all 500 miles. So like when I can give you guys these impressions, it's like, you know, I've had it for a while, right? So I think it's a great daily driver. It's comfortable. It gets good fuel economy considering the size and the engine type that this has. Again, averaging over 18 miles per gallon. I think that's really solid for this. I was expecting to get like low teens, not high teens, for a big four-wheel drive, third row SUV. It's really comfortable. And even though this might not look like the most modern and the most techy from an interior perspective, it's got nice modern tech, right? The infotainment system works fantastically. I can't use words today, apparently. It's responsive, right? It's got Bluetooth, it's got Apple CarPlay, it's got all the stuff you need. The camera system, even though the resolution isn't necessarily the best, right, it's still good enough to get the job done. And I feel like that's kind of, you know, what the QX80 does, is it is just really well-rounded, gets the job done with everything. It's not like crazy out there above and beyond, but it does have a bunch of standard tech, which I think is great. I think that's a huge benefit, is just having everything as standard, versus with other automakers, everything's optional, so you have to pay for everything, like camera mirror, and, you know, if you want the nicer infotainment system on all that, like, where's it standard on this? The only thing I see going against the QX80 is the fact that the Nissan Armada exists, right? That's its sibling vehicle, and you can get an Armada Platinum starting at $65,000, after destination and options closer to like $70,000 roughly. So $15,000 less money buys you a very, 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 very similar vehicle. And so with the Infiniti, the big benefit is like the styling, really. And the interior does feel a little bit nicer in this compared to the Armada, but still, they're so close. So that's the only thing that I see going against this. Otherwise, I think it's great. This is priced significantly lower than its competitors. Like, you look at Cadillac Escalade, you look at Navigator, all those vehicles, they're all over $100,000. So this is a bargain compared to other vehicles in this segment, but then the Armada is even more of a bargain. Hopefully that makes sense. That's gonna sum things up for our video here on this 2022 Infiniti QX80. I'll see all of you in the next video.